Yeah, get the pillows where you want them.
Okay, good.
I'm so excited to have you on the podcast.
I'm excited to be here, Ben.
You've been on a few podcasts before.
I've been on a few podcasts
Yeah.
before, but not the Ben Hawes podcast.
Not this one, no.
No.
Absolutely not. And the elephant in the room, I usually have on queer people on my podcast. And do you identify as queer at all? No.
I don't.
No. And so you will be, actually I had a straight woman on before, but you're going to be my first straight man that I've had on in quite a while.
Okay. Well,
Because I'm honored to have you.
I'm honored to be here.
Yeah,
This
you're
is
going to
an
be a
honor,
good one.
yeah.
Because I'll tell the audience a great story about you, which is that for the last 2 years, I've been pursuing comedy, and I've been meeting more friends and like having fun going to shows and like just getting more involved. And I got asked to be on the Looper show, which is an improv group that does an amazing format that I find to be just like so fun. And I was opening and I did a 15-minute set. So it was in Queens at the Court Square Theater. And I took the train out there, which I was very proud of myself because I'm typically wasting money on Uber. And I took the train out there, and the second I got out of the train, it was pouring rain. And I was like, oh my God, I have to go to this show, and I'm freaking out because I don't want to be wet. I don't mind being wet, but like, I just like, it's better to not be wet. And
Like people say it's okay.
yeah.
It's like, fine, it's fine, take your time. But like,
Yeah.
if you're wet or sweaty,
Yeah.
people are judging.
Yes, exactly.
are.
And I was like excited because there's going to be video of my performance, all that stuff, and pictures. And I was like, ugh, even though I do look pretty good with my hair wet.
Yes.
But I started walking toward the theater, which is not a long walk. And I was walking in the rain, just like, and I was able to walk under this overhang thing where the subway is or something for a while. And then I ended up just like getting totally stuck in the rain. And I'm walking and I'm like, just like, oh my God, like getting to the theater and just being like, okay, it's only 2 more blocks, whatever. And I look up and you are standing there and you're like, Ben, and you had an umbrella. And I was like, I really had a moment because I was like, oh my God, like my friend is coming to save me from the rain. And it was just this big moment because in the pandemic, I had a lot of friends leave the city. And I also wasn't involved in comedy before the pandemic. And so when I turned 30, I started performing, started meeting all my new friends and stuff like that. And it was just like a big moment where I was like, oh, I'm like accepted into this group. And Patrick is here welcoming me in with the umbrella. It was so beautiful.
That's right. I wasn't going to leave you
Yeah.
there. There's no way.
Yeah.
And I know we weren't. I mean, this is one of the first. Other than that night, this is one of the first conversations
I know.
we've had.
Yeah.
And I just know comedy people and people that are in our crew or in our group.
Yeah.
I just know they're good people. I know they're
Yes.
great people. They're
Yeah.
vetted, and it's just such a wonderful way. And so when I looked up, and I didn't know you, but
Yeah.
I knew you were a part of
You
the
knew
crew.
yeah, exactly. And I was part of the show too.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got it, because I was heading out to get what AA batteries
Yeah.
for Colin.
Yeah.
That can wait.
Another good deed.
Another good deed. I always try to do 2 in one day.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it was a no-brainer, and
was so good.
It was a great way to meet.
Yeah, it was a great way to meet.
Yeah.
And you do mainly improv and acting. Do you do anything else? Do you do anything musical or anything with stand-up or anything like that?
I do. I write a little bit.
Okay.
But mostly acting, mostly improv.
Yeah.
And but I think the next 10 years I want to start. I would like to take a stand-up class and write.
Yeah, you would be really good at it.
Thank you.
I think you would, because you're just like, so I started by doing stand-up. When I first started, I was like, I'm going to do comedy. I'm going to go out and do stand-up open mic nights. And very quickly I learned that at an amateur stand-up night where someone's key talent is stand-up and like they're just standing there with a microphone, they often like just say shocking things just to say shocking things, and there's no like irony behind it or like strategy behind what makes it funny and like stuff like that. And so good stand-up is really great, but like when you're just starting and you're going to those open mic nights and like, and it's just 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's 25 like guys just going up and just like saying random stuff, it was really easy to tell that I was like a little bit different in that. And I was like, okay, maybe stand up might be for me, but like there's something else that I would rather do. And then I was telling a friend, my friend Kelly, I was like, I would like to also sing. Like, I would like to also go to an open mic night where I can sing. And I went to this Inspired Word. Have you ever heard of that open mic?
No.
It was in the Lower East Side. They recently moved to Brooklyn. But it was this like Mondays and Tuesdays, and it's music, comedy, and poetry. Or like really anything you want to do. And I went to that one time, and I was like, oh, I could bring my guitar and do 4 minutes of stand-up and then sing a funny song. And I did that, and it was instantly like, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
For now, at least.
You knew it right when you were doing it, or based on the reactions you got, or how it felt?
Right when I knew it, right when I did it, I was like, this is totally the right thing, because it just felt fun. And I was getting more laughs than ever. And the fact that I know how to play the guitar, and that I did have this one comedy song that I wrote when I was like 22 that I performed when I was 30. And I don't know, it just felt like this is kind of what I was building up to my whole life.
Yeah.
Because I always did funny songs. Like in high school, I had a YouTube channel where I like made funny songs. And yeah, I just really realized that like everything I've been doing comedically and creatively had been leading up to singing funny songs on stage.
It's so funny how we lose that, or we like don't see it, but then when we get it's reintroduced to us, we're like, oh yeah, that was there all along.
All along. Is that what you had too? Similar?
Yeah, I think so. I think I think I'm coming back to like wanting to be in straight up plays, or wanting to just be like do a short film, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, but I started out with that. I came to New York in 2009, and I went to acting school. I got my MFA from New School, and then I found I was spending a lot of time just in the classroom after I got out. Yeah. And so I just wanted to be on stage. I just wanted to be playing and like, you know, breaking my face on the wood of the stage and like falling wherever I could. So improv gave me the opportunity to do that. Yeah. And so I was able to get on stage multiple times a week and get comfortable doing things that I had only that scared me in acting classes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just being like, oh, I got to cry right now, or and just faking it until you make it true.
What would be your dream acting role?
Oh boy, I would love to. Oh my God, this is good.
I'll say one for you.
Okay.
I think you would be a great like sitcom, like dad or dad's friend, or like just kind of like guy, you know?
I would love that.
That would be so good.
I would love that. And then I would also love to play, I would love that for my bread and butter. Yeah. And then I would like to play a villain.
Oh,
like I don't think anybody would expect that. I just think that would be so cool.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really fun.
That would be.
But because I don't get to. So
yeah, right. You know, and the other thing that you're so good at that I've just noticed from seeing your shows is you're so physical. Like you're doing such funny stuff, and you're so able to be funny with your body, which I really appreciate, because that's been my own journey. Like I've been trying to do that more, and just be a little bit more open to like, how am I moving, and like what am I even doing with my facial expressions and things like that. That's probably something you learned a lot in acting school.
Yeah,
but was it also really natural for you?
I think so. Like when I grew up, there was a local theater. It was called Sumter Little Theater, and they had acting classes, plays. Yeah. And I wanted to do that ever since I was 6, but you couldn't start taking classes until you were 8.
Oh my God.
And so like I went there, and this woman, Katie Dameron, was our teacher, and she was just like, physicality is the thing.
And to learn that as a kid. Yeah.
And I loved I loved Charlie Chaplin. Yeah. Like I loved physical.
At that age?
Yeah, I loved like physical comedians at that age. Peter Sellers, like Pink Panther and stuff.
Dick Van Dyke. Did you ever read him?
Yes.
He's so good.
So good.
Wow, I love that. So you were, even as a kid, you were like, I am thinking of entertainment as something I want to do, for a long time.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved like falling, like
Yeah.
pratfalls. I loved that.
I was
stuff
friends with this
all the
kid in
time.
high
I'm
school
like,
who was so good at like fake falling, and I
Yeah.
always thought it was the funniest thing. And I just didn't have that same like limber, like the same like ability to just like fall down and get back up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I still don't. And when I take like a dance class or like anything, that's always my goal, is like I want to be a really great fake faller.
Yeah, right. Like I want to. Yeah, I want to be all fall real
There's
good.
something really funny
It's
about
so
someone who's
funny.
willing to be that silly.
Yeah, and I think it's just so funny. There's something, it just translates no matter what language you speak or whatever.
Yeah.
Like physical humor is just something you can identify and see.
Yeah.
So clearly, like
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
Were
So,
you like that in high school? Like, were you? Here's what I'm kind of getting at is like,
Yeah.
In high school, I felt so different from all the other guys.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, there's me, and then there's every other guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it's me, and then every other guy is just a football player and a, whatever, just kind of like following sports, kind of an asshole, kind of whatever. And what I've learned in my adult life is that even if I wish I knew this in high school, so many guys have different interests, and they are just totally not this kind of archetype of like guy that I created in my head, or that was like created for me, of like what a man is supposed to be or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as an adult, I made a joke when Sean Cantatori was on the podcast, or I think it was somebody, and I was telling somebody like, yeah, guys like have different interests. Like not every guy is just like obsessed with sports and like poker and stuff.
Right.
And I made a joke like, and those are the guys who do improv.
Yeah.
And like, I just, as an adult, like realized that there's so many guys who have so many different interests, and it's actually not the main like interest of men, like to be like that into sports, even though you could be into sports, but like, it's not like the thing. I think my brother and my dad were so into sports that in my mind, every man is just like only into sports and has no other interests. But it's just not been the way that I've learned that men are in adulthood. So what were you like in high school? Like, were you into sports? Were you into everything? Were you into improv?
I was into everything I could
Yeah.
get my hands into, but
Yeah.
I would leave football practice to go to the
Yeah.
play rehearsal.
Yeah.
That did not go over well.
Yeah.
Like, that really did not go over well.
You mean in terms of like your friends and your popularity, or like the coaches?
Coaches
and like,
did not like that.
Yeah.
I would like run one last sprint, and I'd be like, okay,
I gotta go.
I gotta go. We
Yeah.
got, Harry and the Wily Man, or
Yeah.
Wily and the Hairy Man, or what. I can't remember
Yeah.
when I was in, like Lost in Yonkers or
Yeah.
whatever it was. Did not go over well with.
So you were
the
in
coaches.
like drama and theater and stuff in high school also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, I think that gave me, I grew up on a military base, so it was
Oh,
like,
cool.
I grew up with a lot of different
Yeah.
kids, like, or I went to school with a lot of kids from the military base.
Yeah.
It was like right there. So that gave me a lot of opportunity to meet different kids and
Yeah,
encounter
that's
different
really cool.
perspectives. Yeah. And I think theater mostly gave me that, though. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was always into acting, like, since I was
Yeah.
a kid. I just and I think, learning a script and like
Yeah.
the psychology behind another person, or pretending to be a different person, it forces you to put on their shoes and be in a different role.
Yeah.
And look at things differently. So I met all sorts of people in the theater.
Yeah.
And they became my friends, and I didn't know anything about sexual orientation or what anything.
Yeah.
That it was just like community and family.
Yeah. Right.
Which
Were
was
your
incredible.
parents really supportive of your theater stuff?
Yeah.
And did you
were.
grow up with siblings?
I do. Yeah, I have one brother and one sister, both
Yeah.
older.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they were a little more. They're a little more introverted than I am. One's in math, and he's got his doctorate. And my sister is a veterinarian.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
But my sister did theater for a little bit, but I really loved it.
Yeah.
I just took to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really
similar?
cool. No, I grew up with siblings. I have
Yeah.
two younger sisters and an older brother.
Yeah.
And I think that as a younger kid, I kind of really, really do separate like middle school from elementary school and high school from middle school. Like those were just such distinct different periods of time for me. And in elementary school and even before, I was such a performer. I was in all the school plays. I also did gymnastics, which is, in my opinion, like performing. And you're doing. I did
gymnastics.
Yeah. You did gymnastics.
I'm not trying to take away from. I'm just saying. That maybe that's another reason. Why
I think gymnastics is in addition to like dance and stuff, is like one of the most performative sports, because you're kind of doing a routine on your own and everybody's watching you. It's like with a team sport like a football or a soccer or something like that, you're part of an ensemble. And you're part of something, and it's really cool to watch. But like with
so true. It's like the quarterback missed his cue. Missed his line.
But like I feel like as a gymnast, there is a moment where you're like, okay, all eyes on me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get a score. And I did that as a kid from like a little bit before kindergarten to a little bit after third grade. And I did it like competitively. So I would like go around and like not out of state or anything, but like I would go to like other counties and stuff like that and do competitions on Saturdays.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, so as a elementary school person, I was definitely like a performer. And then I would say in junior high, I think just for a lot of people, like junior high is the time where you're like, oh wait, I have to be cool.
Oh boy.
You're like, I have to fit in, and I have to, or else I'm not going to survive. And like, and for a while I would blame that on being gay. Like, and as a kid, I was a gay kid. I had to fit in. I had to hide being gay and whatever. But I've learned through these conversations mostly, and through just meeting more comedians, that everybody feels that in sixth grade. Regardless of who you are, anybody's sexuality is starting to come up. You're starting to have a crush. You want to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, and you really have to survive in like junior high. So it's this kind of place where like people are competing a lot, and like they're hiding a little bit of who they are, and they're pulling back. And so I think in junior high, I turned a little bit to music, actually, which is actually probably a good thing. But I turned to music because they were like people that I wanted to be friends with, who were like kind of the punk band people.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna play guitar. I'm gonna do and so I started doing that, and I was never that cool with the guitar. Like I never really I was never like the cool kid who could just like slay the guitar. And then in high school I started to come back out, and I started to be more like I'm going to do the talent show, and I'm going to do I'm going to enter this contest. And I was in the student council. So by my senior year I was the student body president, and I was like giving speeches and like campaigning and all that stuff. And so that was really fun, and I saw that also as performing too. But I didn't do theater. And I wish that I did, and I wish the circumstances were a little bit different in how I felt about theater, because I think I felt like joining theater would be like a target on my back. Like, if I'm in theater, that definitely means I'm gay. And now as an adult, again, like I know that that's not what people would have necessarily thought. Like, first of all, they already thought I was gay. So it wouldn't have helped or hurt, but like being in theater would have been really fun. So I didn't do theater. So I kind of like always grew up performing, but I didn't ever as a kid do any serious training around performance. And so even as an adult, I've learned everything kind of on my own and self-taught, and like now I've taken some improv classes and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like I don't know, I feel like I really like where I am today as a performer, because I kind of imagine myself as like the everyman of like singing. Like sometimes people will be like, oh well, you're not like really classically trained as a singer or something like that. And I'm like, well, yeah, but that actually adds to my performance, because I'm singing and people can relate to my singing, I think.
Absolutely.
So I think we all just have like these like, childhoods and like high school experiences and things like that. And I like how you say like you kind of find it again.
Yeah, I think you come back to it, or it's kind of like the artist, like in the artist way or whatever. Like those are nice reminders of past self or whatever. But I think we're looking for something, like we're asking a lot of questions in middle school.
Yeah.
Like, who am I? Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing?
Yeah.
Where do I go in this world? And what am I interested in?
Yeah.
And I think you're trying to cling to something.
Yeah, right.
As an identity.
Yeah.
And I think sports is
Yeah.
something that's real easy. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
my dad likes sport. I like sports
Yeah.
too. Right? Like, we
Yeah.
talk sports language just in the same way that you wanted to speak music with
Yeah.
somebody or improv or whatever
Yeah.
it is. We try to, and these are our languages to connect with people. That's
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
like sports is a language that people.
Yeah.
I used to watch sports all, like
Yeah.
ESPN all the time.
Yeah, right.
I don't care as much.
Yeah.
I mean, I care about people, but it was just a way for me to connect and find an identity.
Yeah. No, I know. That's such a good point. And that's the thing that I've learned like the most in doing this podcast. So like the podcast is called Life in Bold. I say I'm on a journey myself to living my life in bold. And so I interview people who I believe are living boldly in some way or another. So sometimes people are like, oh, well, I'm not really like an expert at being bold, but I'm like, no, but we're all on the journey. You know, like we're all figuring it out. We're all making choices and choosing courage and all these different things all the time. But I've found that through my own comedy also, things that I attribute to being gay are actually universal. Like my struggle of like coming out and being who I am is something that regardless of your sexuality or your sexual orientation is something that almost everybody goes through at some point. So that's the thing that I've learned the most about masculinity and men and straight men and gay men and queer men and whatever, is that I think I put people in a box. Like, oh, you don't have this because you're not gay. Or like, you didn't have to struggle with who you were because you're not a queer person. And I realized through singing my songs, the people who come up to me more than anybody to say, oh, that was really cool to hear you say that in a song. Straight men. Like, because I think that they have the same experience of wanting to show who they are and be proud of who they are and live in their truth. But there's so much pressure in the world to be a certain way because you're a man. Mm-hmm. And I thought I had to break free of that, but everybody has to break free of that in certain ways, you know?
Yeah. And I think the way you cut through it, and I think comedians is honesty. Mm-hmm. It's an honest emotion that resonates with people, that goes beyond, who I love, and it's just human. Yeah,
right. And that's the thing that I find so interesting. I think that for a long time, I came out and I was like, oh, it's me against the world. It's like, oh, it's me, and I had to go through all of these things, and I had to hide who I was. Yeah. And then I just realized it's everybody. And that is what has opened up my comedy. Because when I sing a song, like I have a song about falling for a straight guy. Mm-hmm. And so the song kind of goes like, oh, I met this guy. He was talking to me. We were asking each other about our lives and like, saying, what do you do? And what do you do? And then the punchline is that when I asked him what he does for work, he says sports marketing. And then I'm like, that doesn't seem very gay. And I put out this song and I started performing it. And like every verse, like there's something that I realized. So then it's like, I asked him if I can follow him on Instagram, and I go into his page and he only had 41 posts. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what? Gay people post all the time. Like that doesn't match up. Yeah. And more straight guys come up to me and they can relate in so many different ways, because sometimes they ask a girl out and actually she's a lesbian or she's in a relationship or like whatever. And we all have this vulnerability about asking someone out or like just meeting somebody and like crushing on them. Yeah. That like, I don't know. It's been really an interesting journey for me to realize that my comedy is more than just for queer people. And not only is it more than just for queer people, I think it's very liberating for straight men to listen to things that I'm saying, because in the I don't know, like growing up, like how old are you?
I am 39, almost
30.
40.
Oh, wow. Look at
Yeah.
that. So you were even old. I'm 32.
Mm-hmm.
So you were even like older in like the 90s and like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And so my memory, I don't know if this is your memory, but my memory was like being gay was the ultimate punchline of any joke. Like it was like guys talking between each other, like, oh, you're gay. That's like bam, like that's the punchline, and that's like the biggest burn. And as somebody who was gay, it just felt very like, wow, like I knew that being gay was bad before I knew what being gay was. But like what was I gonna say? I feel like I learned about being gay, and I was like, I don't know, like I feel like it's just the same thing I keep saying. It's like it's everybody is like trying to just fit in, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I think what you're talking about with that song is like the expectation and the hope.
Yeah.
Only to be met with rejection.
Yeah.
Once more.
Yeah.
And I think that's so identifiable. I do think it's great that like that speaks to your songs.
Yeah.
If it reaches people of in all walks of life and all creeds and everything, I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And that's why people do. I think a lot of people do it for ego, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people do it to connect and like say something true or honest. So I think that's why it resonates with these straight guys that are coming up to you afterwards.
Yeah. What do people say about your comedy? Like, what do people enjoy about your comedy? Do you notice?
I think honesty. Like I like to be honest.
Yeah.
And I also think, honesty and then also some sense of like the other world or like the magic of in the mystical in performance and kind of like the surreal. I think I like to bring that stuff to life.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But being honest and trying to like truly act moments, especially like we're talking about improv, like really playing the scene as if it were happening in real time. So, yeah.
I love that. I love watching you perform, and it's just, to me, I love watching you be silly. Like, I think that's, to me, a lesson that I take from watching you is just like, not even to not take yourself too seriously or anything like that, but just like that it's like, to me, like when you like, I don't know, come out and make this big shape of who you are and like your body and everything, like to me that's like the real you. And you're like, I'm gonna just be myself right now. Like I'm just gonna like kind of let my freak flag fly kind of messaging, and just kind of like, I'm just gonna be really silly right now. And when everybody laughs along with you, I think it's really powerful. And I think that the message with a lot of improvisers, when they get really silly and they get really big and like just kind of funny, is like that being who you are and taking risks and like being emotionally at risk, you know, like vulnerable, is powerful, you know. And like I noticed that with a lot of people. Like improv is not necessarily about being the best at something and not being perfect at something. It's like the funniest things are when somebody messes up and owns it and kind of turns it into something. Yep. And I do really love that about improv, and I think you do that really well.
Thank you. I think going along with that, I think what I'm realizing, like as an audience member or as a performer, is like what we love, and this is in comedy too, but courage. Yeah. I think you as an audience member, you love to watch it when you see a performer doesn't want to do something or something arises in a scene, you're like, ooh, this is a sticky moment, and then you see them be brave in that moment. Yeah. Because I think we want to believe that we have that same capacity in the audience, that like I can be brave if they can. Yeah. And, so I think I want to show the audience that like be brave in your own life. And then something as a teacher that I see oftentimes, like
you teach too.
Like specifically with improv is like, I think people get caught up in what they're doing so much that they don't look at the other person. Yeah. And so I think I really harp on, I'm like, hey, look at each other, and not to like pull them out of the scene so they're like looking at me. It's like, no, stay in here. Stay with that person, because there's inspiration in that.
Yeah.
So
No, and I think also another thing to add on to this pile is like trusting yourself.
yeah.
Because the thing that is really powerful when I see somebody just go for it. Like, and a lot of times in improv shows, because I've done improv level 1 and level 2, and I've done like my class shows, but I haven't really done a lot of performing in improv. And I like it, but it's not exactly what I want to do, at least right now.
Yeah.
Even though I love it and I think it would be fun to do. But I love writing a song and like performing it and like having it have an impact and like being able to record it and like all that stuff. But like I noticed, to me, what's really powerful is when everybody on stage doesn't have an idea yet, like no one's coming out yet, and then one person is just like, and then they just come out and they just start combing their hair or something, you know, like whatever it is. Like, I love watching people just make the decision to keep the show going.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I noticed in my level 1 class, people would sit there for minutes, you know, just like. And my teacher would be like, just come out, or just trust yourself that if you come out, someone will come out with you, or like, there's a lot to learn in improv. And I think that it's really interesting because everybody's always talking about yes and like, oh, yes and, that's the big thing. And like, anytime I would tell people that I was thinking about doing improv or whatever, like someone who had done improv would be like, well, the thing you have to remember is yes and that's like so true. But like there's so many lessons in improv in life. And I remember when I first took my first class, my work paid for it, because they had like a learning program where you could like take a class, and I like, everybody knows that like learning improv is good for like work and sales and stuff, and my company also believed that, and so they paid for it, and I was supposed to do a presentation on like improv, you know, for sales basically.
Sure.
And I never ended up doing it for some reason, but I always think back to it, like, how can my improv skills affect my professional skills? And the more I think about it, I just keep coming up with more and more examples.
Oh yeah, I mean, goodness gracious, people, I really think people don't make, I mean, like, being eye contact and locking in is one thing, and not looking away, but like people don't really look at each other and allow each other to be like, allow another person to see them. And I think in the workplace, I think a lot of the time we're thinking about what we're going to say when other people are talking, which I still do. And I'm an improviser, and it's like, but I'll just try
to... And there's pressure too.
Yeah. And I just try to be mindful of it, and just being fascinated. I think improv, I take the stage and I try to be as like interested and inspired and fascinated, curious with the other person. And I think that can go a long way just in relationships, or like in business or in life.
I think podcasting is like that too.
Yeah.
I used to prepare so much for my podcast episodes, and I would do it. I'd see like a Barbara Walters or somebody, and she would come up, she always said like, come up with 50 questions and ask.
I love you. I hope you were like, all right, Barbara Walters, I cannot go out tonight. You get the legal pad out.
And she always said like, really prepare, and like, but I think she said something about, and maybe it was a different journalist or something, but she would say like, come up with 100 questions, like write down 100 questions and essentially kind of memorize them almost. And then as the conversation is happening, choose your questions and come up, with what's coming up. And so as a beginner podcaster who was interviewing people, I would write my questions, but I wouldn't take the second piece of that advice. So I would say, this is how the interview is going to go. Section 1, we're going to talk about your comedy. Section 2, we're going to talk about masculinity. And Section 3, we're going to talk about your family, or like whatever. And then I would come up with, 5 questions, and I would bold the 3 most important. Be like, okay, so I'm definitely going to ask these ones. And if there's time, if I'm on track, I'm going to ask these 2. And then like, I would follow this outline. And while people were talking, I'd be like, okay, so the next question is going to be this, and I need to ask it this way. And so, okay. And so then they would finish their sentence, and I'd be like, well, that's a great segue into our next thing. And so the next question is, so you used to do this. And, and when I was editing, I would be like, Ben, you didn't even listen. I would be editing, and I would hear what they would say, and then I would hear what I said next. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I wasn't even listening. So then I started getting better at I started getting better at listening and then asking my pre-written question. And then there was one person that I interviewed, and it was on Zoom like a couple years ago. And I just didn't have enough time to prepare. I prepared in that, like, I knew their comedy and stuff, or what they were working on, but I didn't write down questions. And it was like the best thing ever, because I was actually listening and I was actually hearing what they were saying. And I do think I'm pretty good at coming up with questions based on what I'm curious about, especially just as a getting to know you thing.
Yeah.
And so I think there should be podcasting classes for business. That would be good.
That would be great. Yeah. I think, like, you probably listen you listen in a different way and deeper, just having to practice this skill doing the podcast. Because you really have to listen, otherwise like, on the end when you're editing it, you're like,
oh, shit.
Yeah. Hey, can you come back over?
Yeah.
'Cause,
and then you can edit it and whatever, but the best episodes are like this one, where I'm just like, I'm probably just gonna like basically put this up, you know, like I'm not even gonna do that much editing to a conversation like this, where we're both listening, we're both tuned in, we're having conversation about something we're both interested in. Because that's another thing that I've learned in podcasting, is like really kind of niching down. And like I've always had trouble with a niche, because I just want to post everything and I just want to do everything and like say everything. But being able to interview comedians has been the perfect little thing, because you can talk with a comedian about anything.
Yeah. Absolutely. And usually they have an opinion.
Yeah.
Probably. And it's it's either something you deeply agree with or against, and you can talk about it.
So did you start comedy like immediate? Like, when did you start doing comedy? If you're 39, have you been doing comedy for like almost 20 years? Like, did you start like in college, or like what did you do?
I started doing improv in since I was 8. But it wasn't like necessarily
did improv
just
at 8 years
comedy.
Old.
Yeah. I did it at 8 years old. Every week I would do it at Sumter Little Theater, that theater. And so they had weekly classes, and then they had a whole season of plays. Yeah. And so I got to, do the weekly classes, and then I would audition for their plays.
Did you sing in anything?
I didn't sing in anything.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That is something I want desperately.
Yeah.
Is like singing. It's like.
Do you ever sing like in the shower, like in the car?
I sing all the time. I sing all the time in the car. I picked up my guitar again because my son loves it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's 8 months old.
Yeah.
But he loves it. So
I love that so much. I have a 2-year-old nephew.
Oh my God.
And you know how you're not supposed to like force kids into things?
Yeah. but they get interested in what they see.
Yeah. Well, my brother is not musical at all. I don't think he's ever sang in his life.
Yeah. And your brother knows that. This isn't news.
Yeah. I don't think he's ever I can't think of a time I've heard my brother sing a song. Maybe when we were really young. But
probably because you're such an amazing singer. It's probably intimidating.
Well,
I would be intimidated.
I don't know. It's funny because I had a realization a while back. I used to say like, "Oh, I grew up in a musical household, so now I'm musical." And my mom would always sing, and and my mom as a kid really sang a lot of songs with us, like the kids songs, and like she would patty cake and like all of that stuff.
That's
like she would really sing it with us. And so I would always say like, yeah, my mom like always just so musical, and she got me a guitar and she got me whatever. Yeah. And then I was like, wait a second. My brother, who had the same childhood, is more into other things. Yeah. And I think kids just kind of glom on to things they're actually interested in. That's true. Like I did have a musical household, but he had a athletic household also. Like my dad played softball every weekend and like watched ESPN all the time and like would bet on sports and like all that stuff. And my brother like got more toward that, but I was definitely more interested, just I think even naturally, in music. And so I had more fun playing with my mom, like when she would sing songs. And I think by the time we were like 6 or 7, we had like gotten ourselves into these categories. Yeah. Like, and so I really can't think of a time that I've heard my brother's like, and even if I can, he was joking.
It was a joke song. It was like a quick, like little bit song.
Yeah.
So I think kids have temperaments too.
Yeah.
Because I think even though like the conditions can be the same, which
Yeah.
is what happened. Like it sounds like growing up with you and your brother.
Yeah.
It just seems like your temperament was just more musical. Like
Yeah, right.
I think that's totally true. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's so.
Is
cool.
your son? So what is he? He's 8 months old.
8 months
What
old.
is he kind of showing interest
Wow.
in? Is he just enjoying things?
Mostly just like
Yeah.
crawling. I'm trying to like
Yeah.
Not let him drop.
Yeah.
And, like basically I'm on I'm just like a lifeguard running around.
Yeah.
But he does seem to be into music.
Yeah.
He likes his beach ball a lot. And
Yeah.
he loves Cookie Monster.
Yeah.
Those are the things that he's into.
Cookie Monster.
Yeah, he loves
Does
Cookie
he like
Monster.
cookies? Can he eat cookies?
Can't eat cookies
Too
yet.
young.
Can't eat
Yeah.
cookies yet. Too sweet.
Yeah.
But
Oh, too
loves
sweet.
broccoli.
Yeah.
Loves broccoli. Doesn't understand the concept of broccoli. Like we'll put it in his mouth and kind of gnaw on it.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, that's done. Like
You know what broccoli brings up? Did you see the movie Inside Out? Inside Out or Inside Out 2?
Two and one has been a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. There was an interesting thing. This is just purely an observation about that movie, because it's for kids.
Yeah.
And at one point they kind of, or they many times point to broccoli as something that's really gross and like really disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious about it, like at Pixar, like what's the meeting?
Sure.
Like, are we responsible for telling kids that broccoli is disgusting, or should we lie to kids and tell them that it's delicious, or is it just the truth that all kids are basically hating broccoli?
I think it's a texture thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's early on. You got to introduce it.
Yeah.
But I also maybe disposition wise, some people just don't like broccoli. I want to know what the meeting was like as well.
Yeah.
But what was the thing? Just an observation. The 90s.
Yeah.
Early 90s.
Yeah.
Brussels sprouts,
Yeah.
I feel, got the same kind of broccoli
they
treatment.
got the same treatment. Yeah.
So, like, what was that? Because I love.
Brussels
I
sprouts
really
have
do
a
like,
comeback.
the big comeback.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I like Brussels
And
sprouts
like
a
the
lot.
best restaurants, like people are like, "Have you tried the Brussels sprouts? They're
Oh, my
so
God.
good."
Yeah, the
Yeah.
pine nuts and the
Yeah.
bacon. Yeah, lard.
Yeah.
Cardon. Or, it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel I like Brussels sprouts even more than broccoli.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have known that growing up in the
Yeah.
90s. So what were we doing?
I'm a picky eater. So
Okay.
so I'm a picky eater, and I grew up as a picky eater too. And I remember thinking that Brussels sprouts would be the ultimate worst vegetable
Yep.
to ever eat, but I actually kind of like Brussels sprouts.
Yep.
And I think it's kind of funny because I definitely like Brussels sprouts more than broccoli. I hate broccoli.
Yeah, I don't like broccoli. I eat broccoli because I'm like, I know this is good for
Yeah.
me. I was picky eater too.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah.
Where
so-
did you grow up again?
South Carolina.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's cool. I don't go back much. My mom and sister and everybody's there. Where did you grow up?
In California, Northern California.
Okay.
Yeah. Outside of San Francisco.
Okay, up near those big trees,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, by the Muir Woods.
The Muir Woods. Is that sequoias or
Redwoods, I think.
redwoods?
I think there are redwoods.
I heard I got.
They might be
see 'em.
sequoias.
I gotta go see them.
Yeah.
because it makes you feel. Does it? Have you been around?
Yeah. I love a big tree.
Yeah.
And I haven't been around it in as an adult, I'll say. I
Okay.
remember we would go, California, just
Yeah.
like New York, is an amazing state for nature.
Mm-hmm.
It has all the waterfalls, all the trees, all the beaches, the snow. It has, in Northern California, there's some of the best like skiing and like there's Tahoe.
It's got everything you want.
Lakes.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that because they think San Francisco and LA.
Yeah.
But I mean, California, it also has miles and miles and miles of just like farm.
Yeah.
And so I got to see and do a lot in California. And even though I kind of complained because my parents never took me on like just a relaxing vacation.
Mhm. It was always like, we're going here, we're waking up, we're going on the boat.
I say it jokingly, like of course they took us on relaxing vacations, but like we would always be like hiking or camping or just kind of like doing activities in California, or we would be visiting family. Because I had my mom is from Alaska.
Okay.
Which is really cool. There's
Very
such
cool.
cool stuff in Alaska and the
Yeah.
bears and everything. And then my dad is from around the Seattle area.
Okay.
And so we would our main vacations would be to like travel to see the family.
Right.
But a lot of our family didn't come to California to visit us.
Why?
because
we had everything
yeah,
there.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like we had all kinds. I mean, we even had Disneyland, and like
Yeah.
we had Yosemite, which is the most amazing. Have you ever been to like even in
No.
California at all?
No, I've been to California,
Yeah.
but not like I'm not
That
seeing the
kind of
whole
stuff.
California
No,
that
you
you're
can't.
talking about. You
No,
can't.
and sometimes people will tell me, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to California to see. I'm going to see California on a 5-day road trip," and I'm like, "Oh, you're
Oh,
not
boy,
though.
You have no idea. Yeah.
Like you have to actually do like, you would have to do like some kind of like living van life or something like that to see everything in like a month."
Yeah, I think we learn about California
Yeah.
in elementary school and we see it on the map. We're like, all right,
Yeah.
California, Sacramento's the capital.
Yeah.
But like you don't
Yeah.
realize how big California is.
Yeah.
It's huge.
And you see, I don't know, I guess like the media is so California centric too.
Mhm.
Like a lot of movies are in California, just
Sure.
like they are in New York. And yeah, there's like a lot of like, but the Northern versus Southern California, all of this to say, like California is just like, just a crazy like good state, just like New York is. And I tell I think my California friends think the opposite, where they think New York is just NYC, and I'm like, no, like New York State has all that too.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. It's
Yeah.
just getting out of the city.
Yeah,
you
right.
can't ever get out of the city.
Yeah.
It's just so tough to get out of the city. But once you're out, you're like, oh wow,
Yeah.
this is pretty
How long
nice.
have you lived in New York City?
Since 2006.
Oh wow.
Yeah, long time. So what is that? Almost 17 years?
2006. Let's see.
2006, 2004.
18?
Yes, 18 years.
18
I
years.
got it.
We'll edit it to
18.
be instant.
To be instant, yeah. Okay, we'll just
How
stay
many
in
years
this
is that?
position.
18.
18.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's amazing. I've been here
Yeah.
for about 10 years now.
Okay.
So in the first 8 years that you lived here, I was doing high school and college, basically.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew. I mean, it's changed so much.
Yeah.
And it's also all of the buildings are pretty much in the same spot or
Yeah.
not raised or whatever, but it's just wild how much has changed
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Like I was looking up directions on Hopstop.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have a phone that had
Oh,
a
yeah.
Google Maps.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the thing that, so you started in 2006. You came here in 2006.
Yes.
So you would have seen both like the 2008 economy stuff happen, and then you would have also seen the pandemic happen.
Yeah.
So I was watching, do you know the movie Confessions of a Shopaholic?
No.
Ever heard of it?
I've
So
heard of it.
the movie came out in like 2009, which means it was probably like, filmed in 2008, like around that time, and
Right.
probably like written like the year, some years before that.
Right.
And so it's a very capitalistic movie. So it's basically like this woman gets into credit card debt because she loves to shop. And it's like this, it's a total like rom-com magazine New York City movie, kind of like a Devil Wears Prada kind of fun movie like that. And she loves to shop. So she, as a little girl, she saw credit cards as like something that can just get you anything.
Yeah.
And she just loves to shop, and like it's a really funny thing. And then she kind of she has a debt collector calling her all the time, and she's like freaking out and hiding from him and stuff like that. And so, but the movie, I don't think would hit the same way today.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know, things like credit card debt are such a serious like issue in today's like we talk about it and we like know about it and we have policies about it and things like that. But in 2007 it would have been a different conversation about credit card debt and like shopping and all of that stuff. And so it's kind of an interesting time capsule, because also she's shopping in stores. Her problem is not that she's ordering Amazon, her problem is that she's like going into like Gucci and buying something at Gucci, which I think is just not the same thing as today. But I was watching that movie and I was like, this is a very different New York than today's New York, because now we've gone through 2008 and 2020. And that's interesting that you've seen both, like you've kind of lived through the evolution of New York through both of those.
A little bit. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And the comedy scene, I mean, it's all
Oh
changing.
yeah.
I mean,
so
like,
you were doing comedy right away.
Yeah, I guess I mean, I went to grad school for 3 years, and then I was in probably acting class for a couple years after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably since 2011,
Yeah.
let's say.
Okay.
Doing comedy, doing improv.
Yeah.
And, traveling, teaching, doing those
and
things.
So you knew you wanted to move to New York and do comedy?
I knew I wanted to act in New York.
Yeah,
definitely. But yeah, and then I don't. Yeah, I've been here ever since. I met my wife. Right.
Yeah. When did you meet? That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah, at the pandemic, like right at the beginning of the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had one date, and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And I went down to South Carolina.
Yeah.
And she stayed here, and we just did FaceTime.
Wow.
So it was like a new age.
And you met her in comedy.
Yeah, at the Pit.
Yeah.
So it was like a wartime romance,
Yeah.
new age style though. It was
That is so cool.
Yeah, we were like writing letters and all that, and it was awesome. Now we have a son.
A son.
Yeah.
So what's that like? Are you just like so happy? Like, you're like just feeling like, wow, like I'm a 39-year-old man. I have a wife and a son, and I'm doing comedy.
Does
that feel
incredible.
good?
Yeah, it does feel good.
Yeah.
It feels good to hear that, and like also to still be to like have opportunity and be in the scene and meeting people still. Like,
I know.
That's the thing I love.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love the most is you meet the coolest people.
Okay, I have had this realization about comedy in New York that I did not have before I started comedy, which is that it's just fun. And I think that I, as a young budding person who wanted to get into comedy, it was all about like the career.
Yeah.
And, can I make it however far? But then I'm like, no, it's actually extremely just fun to meet people. It's actually a really great hobby. Like, and I would recommend it to people who actually don't have ambition to like get somewhere or like to be on the Tonight Show or to be on SNL or like whatever the dream is. Like, I would say like that's totally okay, and you could just be in comedy and like have as a hobby, and you meet the coolest people. It's the best thing I've ever done to meet people.
Yeah.
It's better than any job I've had. It's better than anything I did like in college or high school. I am constantly meeting the coolest people ever. And I find that to be like a big realization of something. If I could tell a younger version of me about that, I would be like, don't even do comedy. Just start going to shows and meeting people.
Yeah.
And just like get involved.
Yeah. I mean, so many times when I teach or I've been a part of these classes where people will take classes level 2 or level 1 all the way through with the same class.
Yeah,
and then they become friends from then on.
Where do you teach?
I teach at the Pit.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I'll do like improv in the workplace with laugh dot events.
Yeah.
And that
that's
stuff's
cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what you were
what
your job hired you
Yeah.
to do, like given the, but I'll do that and like getting people to connect in the workplace.
Yeah.
Especially now we want to be so we want to be so safe and just like we're not working, we're just like trying not to get fired.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and you mean like just in the world, like in our
day
the professional world.
In the professional world.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like pretty much for the most part, people are trying not to get fired rather than doing a good job nowadays.
And that's something something that came up when you said earlier about just like we're thinking about what we're going to say next, and we are just kind of worried all the time. And I had, my current situation is that I'm trying to make my own business work, and I'm having successes and failures and challenges and whatever, and it's slowly working, but I've just thought like, man, do I really want like a 9-to-5 right now and like just be constantly worried about getting fired?
Oh my God. You are. Yeah. You're just constantly in like Slack notifications. Just like,
hey, can we talk for a second?
Yeah. I messed up something.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's the only reason I look at Slack.
Do you talk at all about that in your professional classes that you teach?
Yeah.
Like kind of
like trying not to get fired or
just the mentality of like, the current challenge that we're facing is that no one trusts each other a little, you know what I mean?
And we don't connect to
Yeah.
like we're never in the same room.
Yeah.
So we're always on a Zoom room. We're
Yeah.
just seeing each other in the boxes, and we don't like to think outside those boxes.
Yeah.
And we don't like to share specifics about ourselves because it's like maybe I'll get fired if people know that I have like a
Oh my God.
you know, that I didn't, you know, I don't know that I played Catan or something.
Yeah, or like I've found since I started comedy that I would be a little bit more protective of like telling people that I'm a silly goose, you know, that I'm like I would like I feel
tell people you're a silly goose.
Yeah, I know, and like I feel like as cultures change and as things change in companies, you know, like partly what I'm a little jaded and I'm feeling like, you know, companies who claim to be like, oh, we're mission driven. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're just trying to get money.
Yeah.
And everybody's just trying to like make money and like grow and like become the world dominating whatever service.
Yeah.
And I'm a little jaded at it right now. But like, I just feel like, yeah, we don't know and trust each other in the workplace. And like no one, well, not nobody, but like, you know, we don't share as much of who we are out of fear that it'll set us apart, like junior high.
Yeah. Right. So we're all sitting in front of our computers, feeling like we're in junior high again, and just looking for ways to connect.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I could talk to you forever.
Yeah.
This has
I
been
feel the same.
This hour went very fast.
We're done, aren't we?
Yeah. God. We made it to the
it
end.
It happened so quickly. No.
It happened to the. I know.
No, I didn't want to make it to the end.
I know. Well, we're close to the end. We're close to the end. We're close to the end.
Okay.
So where can people find you?
I am on Instagram. Patrick Darwin Williams.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
Do you go by Patrick Darwin Williams?
I do.
Or Patrick Williams?
I go
both.
I like my middle name. Yeah, I like my middle name, but I don't. People don't have to say that every time.
Okay, let's say if you were going to be in a movie, it would be Patrick Darwin Williams.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's cool. 3 names.
I think that'd be cool. 3 names. Yeah.
Do you have any favorite 3-name celebrities?
Oh my God, Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Sarah Jessica Parker. Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh my goodness, you're naming some good ones. Not Cher.
Not Cher. No,
Cher's only one. Cher.
Have you ever seen? I saw Cher in concert once.
No, I've never seen Cher in concert. That's incredible.
I'll tell you the story and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
So I was at work one day and I was having an awful day at work.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work at ClassPass. You know ClassPass? It's like a fitness startup, and like you can sign up for ClassPass and then you can sign up for like a fitness class and like yoga
Groupon
classes
for
and
fitness.
Stuff. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And so I had a bad day. Like I didn't like the way someone talked to me, and I didn't succeed at something I wanted to succeed at.
Mm-hmm.
And I got home and I was all upset. And I like got home around like, I want to say like 7:30 or something like that. And I just like took off my clothes and like got in bed, and I was just like, I'm just done. And then I got a push notification on my phone, which I don't ever get from StubHub.
Okay.
And it said like floor seats for Cher, $80 right now. It was like the show starts in 30 minutes. Boop. And I bought it. I was like, okay, let's go. And I went to Cher, and it was so wonderful. Oh. And I was on the floor of Madison Square Garden watching Cher for $80. And you know, Cher, you probably have people like this too. It's like you have to go. You know, they're older. Mm-hmm. Who knows how many times you'll get the opportunity to see them.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I would love to die knowing that I've seen Cher in concert. Yep. And so I went and I sat next to this mom, and she had never heard of StubHub. So she had paid like, I don't know, $200, $400 for her tickets. And I was telling her about how I only paid $80, probably because it was just like right before.
Yeah.
And she was like, what's StubHub? Oh my God, what's StubHub? Mm-hmm. And so I told her about it. She downloaded it and she looked up concerts near her son in like Denver. Uh-huh. And there was like some band that was playing that her son really liked. Uh-huh. And she bought like $400 tickets right there, right on StubHub. And I was like, this is just like so funny, because I'm here out of my desperation of like my bad day, and like just like I spent my last $80 on Cher tickets, and this woman's spending $1,600 on just because she just found out about StubHub. And it was just really funny.
Yeah, and
then,
she probably tells everybody about you. She's like, thank God for this
she's
saint
probably buying
I met at the
tickets
show."
every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wish I could meet him.
Who would be that person for you?
For,
if you could see, if you see someone older who you just don't know if they're going to be like touring for very much longer.
I thought you were going to ask me who was the person that introduced me to StubHub, and I was like, I'm going to have to go back.
That's a really specific
Bob
podcast
Dylan.
question. Bob Dylan.
Yeah, I really love Bob Dylan a lot. Yeah.
And have you ever seen him before?
No.
Yeah.
I got to do it.
Does he tour?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he
How
still
old
does.
Is he?
Oh my God, I don't know.
80 something.
Yeah, I think he's up there.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question quick?
Yeah.
What was the first song you learned on guitar?
That's a great question, and it was "Skip to My Lou."
Okay.
You know, I don't even know if that's the name of the song, but do you know that song?
I know.
Like "Skip to My Lou, skip to my Lou."
Yeah.
My friend's dad, or no, my mom's friend.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because it used to be my mom's friend, and now it's my friend's dad, because he has been both roles in my life. Because I know him originally because he's my mom's friend.
Yep.
But then I'm family friends with his son. And his son married my best friend. And so now he's my best friend's dad. It's a funny thing.
Whoa.
But like back then I didn't know my best friend yet. Yeah. And so I was telling him I wanted to learn the guitar, and he came over one day and he taught me like these 2 chords. That if you just go back and forth, and he gave me great advice. He was just like, sit in your room and play this for weeks, like just play these 2 chords and go back and forth and go back and forth. And I think it was like the time when like kids could do that. Like you just don't have anything to do, and so you're sitting in your room. And there was that Bryan Adams song called Summer of '69.
Oh yeah.
That song?
Oh yeah.
And he has the line like, played it till my fingers bled. And I wanted that so bad. I wanted my fingers to bleed. I didn't get bloody fingers, so it's more of a metaphor for me.
Yeah.
But like
'Cause you're stronger.
Yeah, I calloused up quicker.
Yep.
But like that was the first song that I learned, and then I learned you'll like this. You know, have you ever seen Jimmy Fallon's SNL audition?
I think I have actually.
Okay. Have you ever heard his like troll song where he plays the song "What's Up" by 4 Non-Blondes, but he does it about a troll? Have you ever seen that?
No.
Okay, it's kind of a funny thing. So he writes a song. He wrote a song about a kid who has a troll. You know, like those troll toys.
Yeah, for sure.
And
they got a jewel in the belly.
Yeah. Yeah. And he is like, and I say, hey, yeah, my troll is gone. And he's like missing his troll. Yeah. It's a really random song.
It's so funny though.
I didn't know it was Jimmy Fallon, but then another one of my mom's teacher friend. My mom's a teacher, so her friend plays this song that he learned from Jimmy Fallon. So he played that song at a party, and then he taught me how to play that song. So it's actually kind of crazy that like one of the first songs I learned was like a Jimmy Fallon like comedy song.
Yep.
And I loved playing it because it's just falsetto, and it's like it's just like a weird, funny little song.
I'm gonna go look it up.
Have you? Do you play the guitar?
I do.
What was the first song that you learned?
I guess now I know. I've come back to it. I just started learning like finger picking stuff, but like landslide, I like.
You can play landslide?
I can play landslide.
Yeah.
I can play the boxer.
Yeah.
And then I can play Don't Think Twice by Bob Dylan.
Oh, that's cool.
But I like the like Travis picking kind of deal. It just feels so good, and I love the sound of it. Yeah. I love it so much.
Yeah. No, I love the guitar. I would say I wish I was. What do I want to say? I wish I could do more on the guitar, and I wish that I had the same boredom that I had in like 2005 or 4 to like just sit here and play the guitar, but I can't get to it.
You shouldn't have met all those lame those lame comedy friends that enriched your life.
I know.
And now your life's not boring.
Because now I can pick up my phone and film something, or I can, I don't know, go on Threads, which is my favorite.
You know, I know we're at the end, but one thing that I would just say to you anyway.
Yeah.
It's not even about the, but I feel like some comedians and stand-ups, this is a known thing, but like they'll code switch whenever they go into their material.
Yeah.
Right? And it feels so conversational with you when you're up there. That I'm just talking with my friend, or my friend's just talking with me, and it's just a conversation. And then you maybe you'll start up the song a little bit, and then you're like, well, and then you start talking. I love that play.
Oh, thank you.
I love that interplay with the audience.
Yeah.
And it's live. It's live comedy.
Yeah.
And so you're leaning into that, and I think it's special about you. So
thank you. Yeah. I have gotten better at it. I will say I've gotten better at it. You probably have too, just being more natural on stage. Because, and I think that show that I did at Court Square Theater was actually one of the first times that I finally felt like I found the energy that I want to have on stage. Because sometimes I'll be very funny and loud and energetic and hi everybody, but I've also played with a little bit more of a sarcastic kind of undertone of boredom or something like that. But I found somewhere right in the middle where it was a little sarcastic, or a little bit snide or something. Or, a little bit tongue in cheek, or just a little bit more just the energy being a little annoyed or something like that. I had a joke where I did I said, Chapel Roan, the singer, and I said I was going to paint myself green, but James said it would be too messy for a 15-minute set or something like that. Yeah. And that's funny to me. That character is funny, where I'm just pissed off at James because he wouldn't let me paint myself green for a 15-minute set. And why can Chapel Roan do it when she does it? It's a bit amazing, but when I do it, it's too messy, and I'm making you lose your deposit for the theater. That kind of funny. That's funny to me. But then also it's endearing when I can say hey, we should all accept ourselves and be who we are and stuff. So I have gotten better at that, I found.
I think so. And I think the way that bit is packaged too at the beginning is it's also I'm putting that aside. Yeah. Because that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. But I'm still going to perform and give you an excellent show, but that was my vision. Yeah. So just have that vision, know that that's what was going to happen.
Yeah. And something similar to what you just said, I really like the character of a musician too. Yes. I'm on stage, I'm going to sing you some songs, and the songs happen to be funny, but I like commenting. It's kind of like what you just said, I'm going to give you a great performance because I'm a musician. Yeah. It's kind of I love Bowen Yang on SNL. Sure. And his impression of the iceberg that the Titanic hit. Have you ever seen that? Yeah. And he just wants to talk about his album. He's he has a new album, but Colin Jost keeps asking him about the Titanic. Yeah. And he's look, that was 100 years ago. They hit me. Yeah. I have an album coming out. Let's talk about my album. And it's really funny
because it's a blip on the iceberg's radar. It's not even.
It's what the hell?
It's a pretty big historic event for y'all. Yeah. But I have a big thing that I'm trying to do in my life here.
Yeah. Oh my
gosh. Not focusing on one moment of your life. Yeah. Right.
It's just a part of who I am.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, it's so funny.
That's really funny.
Oh my gosh. Well, what would you leave people with in terms of your message? What would you say you want to leave people with? Because a lot of times I ask people about boldness and what does boldness mean to you, and how can people think of your message when you are on the stage?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna look right at the audience.
Yeah, look right at the audience.
I think my thing is, as a teacher, making eye contact, and I think what I would say to them out there and to us, I think making eye contact with your own life.
Oh. Yeah,
I think, and whatever that means to you, but it gives me chills. I'm looking at your own life, making eye contact with your own life. Yeah, I think that's what I want. My message.
That is so good. I've never heard anybody say that.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's very original.
Well, thank you.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Oh, Ben, thank you.
Well, you're gonna have to come back.
Oh, I'll come back anytime.
You're going to come back on this podcast. Thank you so much for watching Life in Bold or listening to Life in Bold. Yeah. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts.
TikTok.
Instagram. That's true. I do love when people watch the clips.
Oh, they're
The
great clips too. Seriously.
Yeah, I love the clips.
Yep. Great life messages too. in
Yeah,
there.
little life. I really
nuggets.
I see it happening.
Seriously,
happening.
it's
Yeah.
got the page has a look.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we love you for listening. Thank you so much for being here. Patrick, thanks for being here.
Ben, thank you for having me.
And don't forget to, and then you say it with me, live your life in bold.
Should we do that again?
No, that was good.
Okay.
I think that was good.
I think it was good too.
Yeah.
Should we do
Okay.
the whole thing again?
The whole podcast. Yes.